Do you fall for these optical illusions? If you're looking at your paintings and you're wondering what the heck is off here, something's wrong, but I cannot tell what it is, there's a good chance that you painted something the way you think it appears, whereas it actually looks completely different. So we're going to go over some of the very common optical illusions. I'm going to show you how to get rid of them. Okay, so I have 3 pictures for you, and I really want to go over them with you and show you how what you think is a color isn't necessarily a color. What you think is light isn't necessarily a light. It could be a dark, it could be many things. So first off, let's get started with colors. So very often we have a tendency to see those trees and to just paint them green because I know these are trees. They're green. And this looks incredibly simple, but no one does it properly. If you sample the actual color, you'll see that it looks nothing like what you think it is. So let's take, for example, this green for the trees, right? And look at what we have here. We have just a brown, gray, dead kind of greenish that's barely there. If we move down to the lighter spots, and let me zoom in a bit, if you move down to the lighter spots, you may catch a hint of like a yellowy kind of brown. But that's mostly it. And let me show you something interesting here. If I open up the color picker, what you'll see is this is white, this is black, this is also black, and this is the strongest saturated color version. Okay, we're not going to go deep into what this means, but you can kind of guess, right? That's color, that's black and white. But in any case, this is the strongest, most saturated version of a color. You will struggle to find anything that falls here in this, let's say, quadrant. So let's go over this. The trees, look at where they fall. They're great. And let me remove this, not only web colors. Look at this. Look at where all these colors fall, right? Now, as I move down to something a little brighter, maybe we'll get a bit more color. But look at this color matched here. That's actually the same color you see here, which is incredible, right? But it's actually true. That's the colors you're seeing here. We're matching the colors on the road. Okay, now if we move to something a little more saturated, like these flags, yes, we'll start moving towards the right side. Even this blue, maybe, probably not. This red, maybe. You see it starts moving to the right. If we look at something artificial like this guy's shirt, maybe we're moving a bit towards the color, but you'd have to go through a real challenge to find this saturated of a color here. Or let's say something even more like let's say take this red, right? Look at where it falls. That's actually insane when you think about it. Let me show you here. See, that's extremely light. Let me pick again. I want to pick that darker red here, okay? Or maybe even let's do it like that. Then we'll see it better. Look at this, okay? This red, it's nowhere near like this red in strength, okay? So everything you see here falls under the gray category. So when you see someone like Joseph Zbukvich paint and he's using just grays, it may look straightforward and kind of, okay, he's just painting with grays. But here's the thing. First off, that's a great showcase of why he's working with a lot of grays, because it is gray mostly, right? Even these areas, and by the way, look at how light they are. If I compare this to the sky, right, it looks even dark, but if I compare it to the darks here, look at this. Would you believe that this value you see here, put it here, look at what it looks like. That's pretty incredible, I would say. But here's where a lot of people miss. So very often I'll see someone trying to mix a very awkward gray. When you work just with grays, you'd better know what you're doing with grays, because the nuances are critical. As you saw all throughout this painting, the grays do matter. It's not the same gray every single time. Again, let's get rid of this. It's not the same gray every single time. It's nuances of grays, right? And you can see how it moves on the blue area of the scale, on the orange yellow, on the red, whatever, right? This gray right here, all this building is gray, but look at what we have here. Very subtle variations of almost purple, lilac, all sorts of interesting colors that are a bit of orange, dark orange, that will be very hard to tell. So it's no wonder when you're looking at this thing, it's very hard to paint these accurately. Now, if we turn it black and white, things get much easier. You just see how light or dark something is and you can paint based on that. But the reality is, you'll want to sometimes not paint just black and white. So let's play around with the saturation of it. Adjustment hue saturation. Okay, most people when they paint, they go like way exaggerated. So that's one thing to have in mind. Now, I don't care if you exaggerate in the right direction. So if you see a muted purple, you just go with that muted purple, you make it a stronger purple, but that's not usually what happens. Look at how subtle the colors are. Okay, I want you to remember that. Now let's move on to another one. When you look at this scene, you think to yourself, wow, beautiful sky, look at this strong peach color, and then you attempt to mix it, and you go ahead and you see a bit of blue here, right? So you go, okay, I need blue, let's get some blue, right? Maybe a bit of a lighter blue, and then you paint that blue, and then you say, okay, we have this pink here, beautiful pink. Let's grab this pink paint, right, somewhere around here. Let's not go too overboard, but maybe this, or maybe a purple, right? But you're nowhere close. Look at where this color falls on this graph, or whatever you want to call it. Look at what we have here. That's so subtle. And it's hard with watercolor. It's hard to find these accurate mixes. No wonder when you look at the entire scene, you have no idea how to mix those. So first step, and this is what I'm trying to aim for with this video, is awareness. Now you know, okay, I'm looking at this color. Maybe you see this scene in real life and you think to yourself, wow, the colors are so saturated, and you use like maximum saturated colors, you end up with a big mess. Now, don't go the other way where you just use grays, because there are some nice pink colors here, right? This is a very nice color. It's not here, it's not like a gray, it is a bit of a pink, right? So one solution is to use more water for these washes so that it's at least lighter and more diluted, just saying, generally speaking. But the thing is, and by the way, this is a beautiful scene. Look at how the tiles turn from, because it's wet, from dark lines representing them to light lines where the shadows are right here. I just blocked it, but you see right here. That's just beautiful. But in any case, I'm getting distracted by the scene. Have that in mind. The colors aren't as strong as you see them most likely. Where the strength comes from is the context of the scene. So what do I mean by that? Again, if we sample the colors in this scene, you'll notice how most of them fall in the very gray blue area of the scale. But once we get to this, look at where we go. We went all the way up here, right? And we were close, but with blues, right? And the moment we move here, look at how we're moving more to the top and maybe even a bit to the right. See? So it's in the context. Compared to the rest of the scene, this is a beautiful, bright peach color, if you will. But if you were to take this color and, I don't know, maybe plop it into the next picture we have, it's a pretty muted color, right? Which brings us to the third picture I wanted to show you. This gets closer to strong saturated colors. If we sample here, we're getting close with the reds, right? But don't let the greens mislead you. Look at where that falls. It doesn't fall here. It's not here. It's not this super colorful version, right? It's somewhere around here, if anything. That's the colors you're seeing in the greens. That's the colors you're seeing in the pinks. Only in the reds and oranges do you have like bright, bright colors. So, by the way, this makes this scene harder to paint. Scenes that are a little more nuanced, a little more muted, a little more gray, I find are easier to mix, especially with watercolor, where you really have to build it up sometimes in layers of very saturated paint to reach this level of saturation. So just have that in mind as you decide on your next scene. Just know that it's sometimes very difficult to paint these kinds of scenes. But again, the magic is all the grays here are fairly muted, but then only a small part of the scene is actually a strong red, and it's not even the strongest. Like if we really push the brightness, you see what we get? You still don't get this here. You get something that's fairly strong, close to it, but still not it. So the next time you paint a scene, open it up maybe in Photoshop or a similar software just to look at some of the colors and kind of figure them out. Print it out and use a viewfinder to match the colors and do a couple of experiments and see maybe this green that you think is green is actually a super gray, you know? Maybe it's not as strong of a color as I think it is. It is on the green side of things, right? If I take this to the extreme, but it's pretty muted. The next step would be to learn how to control these gentle mixes, which is not an easy thing. That's a topic for a different video, but hopefully at least today I'm giving you kind of a side-by-side view of a very common mistake people make of pushing the colors and pushing the values, going way, way too dark, when in fact you see this isn't as dark, right? If you compare this to a pitch black color, which many people do, including myself, make this mistake, look at the difference there. It's not pitch black, sorry, but that's an annoying message that sometimes happens. It's not pitch black. So question your mixing, question yourself. It is okay. And it is okay to take a bit of a break and work monochromatically, black and white, just so that you see the values more accurately before you add colors. Honestly, colors are challenging. I'm still working on my skills in mixing the right color. I find that it's something that I keep having to improve more and more. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you got some new insights. Now let's wrap it up real fast. So one quick point I want to reiterate on: start simple. This is actually one of the hardest things to get rid of, these optical illusions. Start simple, monochromatic, build your way up, reassess, test it out, compare your result to the original, to the photo reference, to the view, whatever it is, and test and correct. It's an ongoing process. I want to thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to check out my courses, link in the description box below if you need help with watercolor, if you're frustrated by the medium, if you find you're trying to be too rigid and really control it. You can find some good solutions in the description box below. One thing I will mention, and I probably mentioned this in the last live stream, is I have my tools page up, which means if you're looking for anything, paints, brushes, whatever, check it out there to see what I like to buy. And then if you buy through my link, I make a little commission. You pay the exact same price. I'm going to put links to everything below, and I will talk to you again in the next vid real soon.